The emergency room door slid open with a mechanical whisper, and Marcus Chen stood frozen in the fluorescent glare. His daughter's hand clutched in his. Lily was burning up, her small body trembling against his leg, and fear had carved a hollow space in his chest where his heart used to be. He'd been unemployed for 7 months. His insurance had lapsed 3 weeks ago. The $27 in his wallet wouldn't even cover the copay he no longer qualified for. But watching his 7-year-old struggle to breathe had shattered every last fragment of his pride. And now here he stood, desperate and broken, ready to beg if that's what it took. "Please," he whispered to the intake nurse, his voice cracking. "She needs help." The nurse, a tired-looking woman with kind eyes, glanced at Lily and immediately motioned them through. Marcus would never forget that small mercy. But it was what happened next that would change everything. A woman in the corner of the waiting room stood up. She wasn't dressed like a doctor or a nurse. She wore jeans and a faded blue sweater, her dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. There was nothing remarkable about her appearance, nothing that would make her stand out in a crowd, but something about the way she moved, the quiet determination in her steps as she approached the reception desk, caught Marcus's attention even through his panic. He couldn't hear what she said to the administrator behind the glass, but he saw the woman pull out her wallet. He saw her slide a credit card across the counter, and then he heard the administrator call his name. "Mr. Chen, your daughter's treatment has been covered. You're all set." Marcus turned, confused, looking for cameras, for some explanation. The woman was already walking away, heading toward the exit. "Wait!" he called out, shifting Lily in his arms. "Wait, please. Was that... Did you..." She paused, turned back with a small smile. "Your daughter needs you right now. That's all that matters. But I don't understand. Why would you..." "Because someone did it for me once," she said simply. "When my son was sick and I had nothing. A stranger paid his hospital bill. I never got to thank them. So now I do this when I can. Pay it forward, you know?" She glanced at Lily, whose eyes were half closed with fever. "Take care of her. She's going to be fine." And then she was gone. Disappeared through the automatic doors into the rainy November night. Lily recovered. Pneumonia, the doctor said, caught just in time. 3 days in the hospital, antibiotics, fluids, and careful monitoring. Every time Marcus signed a form or spoke with a nurse, he waited for someone to tell him there'd been a mistake, that he owed thousands of dollars he couldn't pay. But it never happened. The woman had covered everything. He tried to find her. He asked everyone at the hospital, checked with the billing department, even filed a request to access records of who'd made the payment. Privacy laws, they told him, they couldn't release that information. She'd paid and asked to remain anonymous. That was her right. For weeks, the weight of unpaid gratitude sat heavy on Marcus's shoulders. He'd gotten his daughter back, but he felt like he owed a debt he could never repay to a person he couldn't find. It gnawed at him during the long, lonely hours of job searching, during the nights when bills piled up and hope felt like a luxury he couldn't afford. Then, 3 months later, Marcus got hired. Nothing fancy, just a position in a warehouse. But it came with benefits and steady pay. For the first time in almost a year, he could breathe without the weight of financial terror crushing his lungs. He was shopping for groceries, actually putting fresh fruit in his cart instead of the cheapest pasta he could find, when he saw it happen. A young mother, maybe 25, with 2 small children and a cart full of food. At the checkout, her card was declined. Then the backup card. Then she started removing items, her cheeks burning red with shame, while her kids asked why they couldn't get the cereal, the chicken, the things they needed. Marcus watched other shoppers look away, pretending not to notice her humiliation. He saw himself in that moment. Saw all the times he'd stood in her shoes, counting pennies and praying they'd somehow multiply. His hand moved before his mind fully decided. "Here," he said, approaching the register. "Let me cover this." The woman stared at him, tears streaming down her face. "I can't. I don't." "You don't have to," Marcus said gently. "Someone helped me when I needed it most. I'm just passing it along." He paid her bill. It was almost $200. Money he couldn't really spare but somehow felt he had to give. As the woman thanked him through her tears, as her children hugged his legs, Marcus finally understood what that woman in the hospital had meant. This wasn't about repaying a debt. It was about keeping something alive in the world. some spark of human goodness that threatened to die out under the weight of hardship and indifference. That night, he told Lily what he'd done. "Was that the lady's money?" she asked, her eyes wide. She'd recovered completely, all traces of that terrifying night erased from her healthy, glowing face. "The lady from the hospital?" "No, sweetheart. That was our money. But now we don't have it." "No," Marcus agreed. "But someone else does. Someone who needs it more than we do." Lily thought about this for a long moment, her small face serious. Then she opened her piggy bank, the ceramic unicorn she'd gotten for her 6th birthday, and pulled out the bills and coins inside. She'd been saving for a toy she wanted, had been patient for months. "Can we give this to someone too?" she asked. Marcus felt his throat tighten. "You've been saving that for your toy." "I know, but maybe someone needs it more. Like that lady needed the groceries more." She looked up at him with those earnest, 7-year-old eyes. "The hospital lady didn't know you. The grocery lady didn't know you, but they were still nice. So maybe we can be nice to someone we don't know too." The next day, Marcus and Lily went to the children's hospital. They used Lily's savings to buy books and toys, and they donated them to the pediatric ward. It wasn't much, maybe $50 worth. But Lily had insisted on picking out each item carefully, thinking about what kids who were sick and scared might want. As they were leaving, a nurse stopped them. "This is incredibly kind," she said. "Did you have a child here?" "I was here," Lily piped up. "I was really sick. A nice lady paid for me. We wanted to help other kids." The nurse smiled, and then something flickered across her face. "Recognition, maybe, or memory." "Was this about 3 months ago?" Marcus nodded. "A woman in a blue sweater paid your bill?" "Yes, do you know her?" "I've been trying to find her, to thank her." The nurse hesitated, then said, "She comes here sometimes. She's done this for several families. Always asks to stay anonymous." She paused, weighing something. "Her name is Sarah Ortiz. Her son died 5 years ago, leukemia. At the end, when he was in hospice, someone paid for their last month together so she didn't have to work. Could just be with him. After he passed, she started doing this. Whenever she has extra money, whenever she can, she pays medical bills for families who can't afford them." Marcus felt the words hit him like a physical force. The woman who'd saved his daughter had lost her own son. She'd taken her deepest grief and transformed it into the most profound act of love he'd ever witnessed. "Can you tell her?" He started, then stopped. What could he possibly say? "Can you tell her thank you?" "I will," the nurse promised. "But I think the best thank you is what you're doing right now, passing it forward." Marcus never did meet Sarah Ortiz face to face again, but he carried her gift forward. Once a month, when he could manage it, he found someone who needed help. Sometimes it was paying for someone's groceries. Sometimes it was buying coffee for everyone in line behind him. Once it was paying the past-due electric bill for an elderly neighbor who'd been too proud to ask for help. Lily grew up watching this. She started her own traditions, saving part of her allowance to donate, volunteering at food banks, organizing coat drives at her school. By the time she was in high school, she'd inspired dozens of other students to join her efforts. Years later, when Lily was graduating from college with a degree in social work, Marcus sat in the audience and thought about that night in the emergency room. He thought about how close he'd come to losing everything, and about the stranger who'd appeared like an answer to a prayer he'd been too desperate to articulate. After the ceremony, Lily found him in the crowd. "I got the job," she said, beaming. "At the children's hospital. I'm going to help families navigate medical costs. Apply for assistance programs, all of it." Marcus hugged his daughter. This remarkable young woman who'd taken a single moment of kindness and built her entire life around multiplying it. "She'd be proud," he said. "Sarah, she'd be so proud. I hope I meet her someday," Lily said. "I want to tell her what that night meant. How one decision she made changed everything." But maybe that was the point, Marcus realized. Sarah Ortiz had never needed recognition or gratitude. She'd needed to honor her son's memory by making sure his suffering meant something, that it translated into less suffering for others. She'd needed to take her broken heart and use it to heal the world, one hospital bill at a time. That night, Marcus made a donation to the children's hospital in Sarah's son's name, and he knew somehow that somewhere in the city, Sarah was probably doing the same thing for someone else. That somewhere a chain of kindness started by a stranger years ago was continuing, growing, spreading like ripples across water. Because that's what love does. It doesn't die when we die. It doesn't end when the moment passes. It multiplies, transforms, becomes something bigger than any single act of generosity. It becomes her legacy, and his and ours. The legacy of everyone who chooses compassion over indifference, who sees another person's struggle and decides to help carry the weight. In the end, maybe that's all any of us can hope for, to be someone's answered prayer, to be the stranger who appears when hope is dying, to be her when someone else needs us to be.